How's it going, Giants fans? My name is Alex. I'm my co-host here, Anthony Rivardo, and waking up Monday morning with another dub in the books is certainly a good feel. Let's freaking go. 3-1 on the season. Unexpected, but I'm here for it. And I don't care how we win as long as we're getting them. And some people may be like, we want a better draft pick. Let's lose games, blah, blah, blah. End of the day, remember who got Chase Young? And Chase Young hasn't really done anything. Remember who got Andrew Thomas because Washington got Chase Young. And by the way, guys, Andrew Thomas is the highest graded offensive lineman in football right now. He gave up 0 pressures yesterday. Absolute elite across the board, book and left tackle. If there's anything Brian Dable and Mike Kafka can be excited about the future for, it's Andrew Thomas being a staple on the left side of the offensive line. Now, there's a lot of work to be done. There's a lot of progress that needs to be made, a lot of momentum that has to be curated. But at the very least, there's a big silver lining at left tackle, a position that we have had a lot of trouble with in the past. But today, Anthony and I want to discuss a little bit of news coming out of the Giants camp that they need a little bit more run support. And old friend Landon Collins could be on the dock for the Giants as a potential signing. He had been speaking with the Giants, with Julian Love suffering a concussion. Aaron Robinson out due to the knee injury, got bent over backward. There was a lot of injuries that occurred yesterday against the Bears. The Giants are considering bringing back Landon Collins. We want to discuss his numbers, how much money the Giants have, how much he might cost, and really what he'd be bringing to this team as now a veteran, having spent time with the Giants and Washington Commanders. So definitely a player that we're familiar with. We know what he offers, but nonetheless, we want to discuss it. Get your take on it in the YouTube comments below. But Anthony, how you doing today, my friend? And how you feeling about Landon Collins?
I am doing great, always doing great on a victory Monday. Huge win for the New York Giants yesterday in those beautiful legacy uniforms. I got to say this, they need to make those jerseys the full-time jerseys. Bring them back. They are so fire. But the helmet, color rush helmet. Perfect jersey combination. Debate a brick wall because that is the definite answer. There is no debate about it. But let's go ahead, talk about the Giants' injuries, talk about Landon Collins. Now, I think it's interesting that they're interested in Landon Collins because this is a player who I actually could see fitting in very nicely in Wink Martindale's scheme. Now, I know that the Giants went ahead and they signed Tony Pollard a few weeks ago to be on their, not Tony Pollard, Tony Jefferson to be on their practice squad. They elevated him to a couple of games, and that's kind of a player who has a similar playing style to that of Landon Collins. But Landon Collins obviously being significantly younger and, in my opinion, a bit more of a talented player at this stage in his career. So it's kind of the same mold of player, but higher potential. So I do kind of like the idea of, at least bringing him in for a visit, seeing what he has left in the tank, and maybe if the Giants do go out and sign Landon Collins, I think that I would be a proponent of this move. Now, again, you take a look at the long list of injuries that the New York Giants are dealing with, not only in the secondary, on the offensive line, on the defensive line, in the linebacker core, in the skill position players, like everywhere, quarterback especially. There's just so many injuries. This is the time where the Giants just have to go out there, find some free agents who are willing and able to play, and go ahead and sign them. And Landon Collins is absolutely one of those players. In fact, he's probably one of the more high quality players that's still available in the free agency pool. So yeah, I'm definitely interested in this potential signing, and I do think that I'm a proponent of it.
Yeah, I mean, look, the Giants need support stopping the run. They did manage to hold the Bears to a minimal amount of rushing yards. Khalil Herbert and Ebner, had some success, but not too much. Nothing that, put the Giants in any bad spots. Justin Fields, was running the football a lot because the pass coverage was solid and they were putting so much pressure on him. He was forced to maneuver and do things on his own on the ground. But Landon Collins, this is an interesting player who we are very familiar with. Obviously spent the first 4 years of his career with the Giants before signing a big contract with the Washington football team, or Commanders now. He was a 3-time Pro Bowler with the Giants. He was even a first-team All-Pro guy in 2016 when he had 125 tackles. He was tremendous. This is definitely one of the better players that we've had in a long time at the safety position before he was traded. He always kind of was a liability in coverage. That was never his strong suit. But the Giants have been using a lot of hybrid kind of situational looks recently. They have been using the 3 safety looks with Love, Dane Belton, and Xavier McKinney. But now I'm kind of getting the sense that, like, if Love is forced to miss any time, they could fill that strong safety role with Landon Collins, who is pretty versatile, and he's a big guy. He plays in the box. That is what he's known for. Last season with the Washington football team, Commanders, whatever, he played 341 snaps in the box, 129 at free safety, and 165 categorized as the slot. But, he's really in the box. He also spent some reps on the defensive line, 27 of those last year. Had 2 interceptions. He did give up 4 touchdowns in coverage. Again, he's not good in coverage. This is not why you're bringing in a guy like Landon Collins, but he's very good against the run. He has been his entire career, had an 82.5 overall grade per PFF. So take that out what you will. He had 30 stops in the run game last year and 11.8% missed tackle rate, which is below his career average. Actually, it's not terrible for a guy that has that many opportunities, in the open field to make tackles. The guys are shifty at the second level. So he's someone that I would is reliable in that regard. I don't trust him in coverage at all, but in run defense, he is someone that can really hold up. He can play in the box. He's extremely physical. He's only 28 years old, so he's still really young. Got good size at 6 foot, 222 pounds. He actually might have experience with Brian Dable back in Alabama. I'm not sure exactly the years if they match up, but he was with Alabama back in 2014, 13, 12, something like that. So Dable might have been around. I don't know if it matches up, but either way, maybe some familiarity. Nonetheless, Landon Collins is someone that we know very well. Question is, how much money would the Giants be willing to give him? Because right now the Giants have $4.45 million in team cap space. So, this is not a situation where the Giants can offer him like a 1 year, $3 million deal. You're looking at like a 1 year, $1 million deal, 1 year, $1.5 million deal. Is there a world where they give him a 2-year contract at low money with an out after the first season? There's something you could make the argument that might be a beneficial deal if you could get out of it after the first year. Without giving up any money next season. I doubt they go there. I think he's more of a supplementary guy, like a Logan Ryan situation where they extended him because he played so well. But I think maybe like just a 1-year deal. He's really just plugging a gap, right? Julian Love has had a good season this year. I actually really like what he's done so far, stopping the run in coverage. But how much better do you think the Giants can get by signing Landon Collins? I think they would benefit exponentially in the run game, but again, you're still lacking in the coverage department because Dane Belton is not really that good in man. McKinney's obviously very solid, but Robinson having that knee injury, there's definitely a liability back there, but this is definitely someone who could help this team.
I think this is someone who can help this team, and I think it would be a worthwhile signing. But I will say the linebackers started to play a lot better yesterday. The way that I'm looking at Landon Collins, he is that safety linebacker hybrid, but in the New York Giants defense, he's probably playing a lot of linebacker. We've also seen Julian Love play a lot of linebacker in recent weeks, get into the box to play in coverage because the linebackers have been so poor. But in yesterday's game, the linebackers actually played pretty solid. That was definitely Tay Crowder's best game of the season so far. And Jalen Smith actually went out there and had a pretty decent performance. I saw him make a couple plays and run defense that were pretty eye-opening. Like, he should be getting more playing time. I think he's overtaken Austin Calitro at this point, and I think that's good. I think he should have. Austin Calitro was a total struggle in the New York Giants lineup for the first 3 weeks, but Jalen Smith went out there, and so did Tay Crowder, and they played a solid game. So I think really what the Giants are looking at here is maybe the linebackers are finally starting to put it together. However, now that Julian Love is injured, they need to find a versatile safety, someone who doesn't just play on the deep end, someone who doesn't just play in the box, someone who does both. Can Landon Collins be that guy realistically? I'm not so sure. They might want to go ahead and look for a couple more options at safety as well. Again, I like this potential signing. I think it would be worthwhile. But if they want a guy to fill the Julian Love role, that's probably Dane Belton, or they go out there and they find someone else in free agency not named Landon Collins. Because Landon Collins, he's not going to do the things Julian Love does where he lines up at the slot, lines up out wide, lines up deep, lines up in the box. He doesn't have that much versatility. He's got versatility in the sense that he's big enough and strong enough to play in the box as a true linebacker, which has great value, and he's a safety, so he can play the box strong safety role. So that's where you get the value from Landon Collins, but if they're really just trying to supplement the loss of Julian Love here with Landon Collins, I'm not so sure that it's the best match. Right. So I think with Julian Love, it's going to be really tough having him leave the lineup. If he does, there's still a chance that he plays on Sunday. I'm not even ruling him out because concussions are so random. He can be out for 1 week. He can be out for 5 weeks. That's really how concussions go. And I know that the NFL is right in the process of reworking their concussion protocols. So we'll see how that goes. They said that could be effective by tomorrow. So we'll see if that changes anything in terms of Julian Love's availability and status for this upcoming Sunday's game. But for Julian Love, I think it'll be interesting to finally get his timetable figured out and see if he's going to be ready to play on Sunday. And if he's not, then yeah, I think that you got to take a look at Landon Collins and maybe bring in 1 or 2 more safeties for a tryout or for a visit just to see who else is out there on the market who can fill Julian Love's role for Sunday's game against the Packers. But for Landon Collins, I think what you're really getting out of him, as you mentioned, is run defense. That's the primary thing that you're getting. The Giants' run defense has been really, really good through the first 4 weeks of the season. And maybe you could argue that they don't need to go out there and get Landon Collins. Maybe they need to find someone who's better in coverage. However, However, I think that probably what the Giants are looking at is this is a safety, so he's naturally better in coverage than any linebacker, and we can play him at linebacker because he has the strength and size too. So we might as well just go ahead and say, take Crowder, keep doing your thing in run defense, but you're still bad in coverage, so we're going to have Landon Collins go in and play that role for you. And I think that is the solution that the Giants are looking at here. And again, Wink Martindale has been tremendous through 4 weeks, and he's using everybody just the way they need to be used. He is making the most out of all of his players and maximizing their talent and potential. So with Landon Collins, if they were to go ahead and sign him, I have no doubt, and I have all the complete faith and trust in Wink Martindale that he would be able to utilize him properly and get the most out of him. So I think in this defense, Landon Collins would step in, primarily play more of a linebacker role for Wink Martindale, and hopefully mitigate some of these plays where these running backs are getting 3rd and 20 conversions on the Giants defense, right? These little screen passes, or with Dontrell Hilliard in week 1 catching 2 touchdown passes, Landon Collins might be the solution to that specific issue. So for that reason, I think it would be a worthwhile signing.
Yeah, and then you throw in the mix that Leonard Williams is probably going to be returning this upcoming week against the Green Bay Packers, and that's really why the Giants were good at stopping the run the first 2 weeks, because Leonard Williams was in the mix. Against the Dallas Cowboys, they gave up 176 yards, something like that, and Leonard Williams obviously was on the bench. He was on the bench this week too. The Bears just ultimately suck, and their offensive line's garbage, so we managed to kind of stifle them to a degree. But if you add a good run-stopping safety in the opposite of Julian Love, like Landon Collins, and then you get Leonard Williams back, that's a pretty good situation to have. Like, that's something that I could roll with. But then again, you look at Tay Crowder yesterday, 11 tackles. He had 2 quarterback hits, a sack. He looked really, really good. That was probably the best game I've seen from him. He was leading the league in missed tackles up to that point. So, that was a game he needed to have, but I don't expect him to be like that every single game. This is definitely a player who's polarizing in nature. They also had Jalen Smith on the field for a pretty sizable chunk of the game, so maybe a little bit over 50% of snaps. He also had a couple of big moments, so I definitely enjoyed seeing him as well. But again, like you said, Landon Collins is going to be better in coverage than Jalen Smith or Tay Crowder. You're probably, if you're going to go get Landon Collins, you're looking to play this hybrid role. He's aggressive. He can blitz. We all remember how athletic he was running after the passer back in the day. He's definitely someone that can step up and make some plays, in the line, around the line of scrimmage, and really just use that aggression, use that physicality to his advantage. But having Leonard Williams as well, and Wink Martindale predicates his defense on stopping the run, right? If you stop the run, you can make an offense one-dimensional. That's what he said earlier this offseason. If you can take away the run, you can make an offense one-dimensional, and then you can predict what's going to happen. You can scheme around that, right? You take away the play action if they can't run the ball. You force them to throw it. You get them in 3rd and long situations and 2nd and long situations pretty easily that way. And with the Giants, pretty creative blitz concepts and utilizing those safeties, those linebackers, those edge rushers in more creative ways, and stunts and, delayed blitz concepts. Like, these are all things that can put opposing offenses, kind of on the back foot. And Collins might be a decent fit, especially if they utilize him as like a hybrid kind of safety linebacker role. He could play linebacker. He's got the size for it. He's got the experience. But I wonder how they would use him. So we'll see kind of what goes on there. But again, he's coming off not a bad season by any means, but he didn't make a lot of money in the past. I wonder what kind of money he's looking for now if the Giants were to consider him. They had been speaking to him. They brought him in for a visit today. So obviously we'll keep you guys updated on that. As always, I'd love to hear your perspectives and thoughts about Landon Collins in the YouTube comments below. Definitely an intriguing player that we all are very familiar with, but some people may not want him back. Some people may just want to roll what we got, wait for Julian Love to get back and ride into the sunset on a defense that's kind of outplayed their coverage the last couple of weeks. So definitely an interesting unit that we've gotten creative with, which is pretty cool. But as always, my friends, hope you enjoyed this video of Fireside Giants. Make sure to like and subscribe as always. Love to hear your thoughts below, and we'll catch you guys on the next episode.
TVSO.